baby. There was a guy online from Baltimore who was claiming to be her baby dad. He ended up getting...
When I tell you the internet was not prepared for this volcanic explosion of betrayal, secrets, and career-ending confessionals. I mean it. The day JasonLee and Natalie Nunn joined forces like two messy Avengers ready to expose ChriseanRock's entire hidden universe felt like the moment reality TV finally said, enough, release the truth, and baby. What they dropped makes the Kardashians look like a group of nuns filming a Bible study because according to them, Chrisean hasn't been the misunderstood victim she loves to cosplay. No, they claim she's been the one backstage pulling every chaotic string, lying through veneers and hiding secrets so dark they make Zeus Network lighting look heavenly. And then Jason, the king of calculated chaos, stepped forward and dropped a bomb so big it shook the algorithm. Junior's father might not be Blueface at all. But Ronnie, the comment section didn't just react. It combusted. Phones flew. Edges evaporated. People typed in all caps like they were trying to warn the planet about an incoming asteroid. And then came the real detonation. The allegations, the fake tests, the death mystery, the Diddy parties, the Zeus meltdown, everything Chrissy, and allegedly hid from Blueface like a walking, tweeting Pandora's box. Strap in. You're about to hear the truth they never wanted leaked. The internet woke up thinking it was just another day of celebrity nonsense, only to be slapped in the face with the kind of truth bomb that turns timelines into war zones. When JasonLee and Natalie Nunn decided to speak on Chrisean, it didn't feel like gossip. It felt like the moment the Guardians of Chaos finally got tired of babysitting the fire starter they protected for years. Their voices didn't shake. Their stories didn't bend. It was the kind of exposure that hits like a cold slap to the soul. Suddenly, the poor me narrative Chrisean paraded online didn't sound like innocence anymore. It sounded like strategy. According to Jason and Natalie, You're about to hear the truth they never wanted leaked. The internet woke up thinking it was just another day of celebrity nonsense, only to be slapped in the face with the kind of truth bomb that turns timelines into war zones. When JasonLee and Natalie Nunn decided to speak on Chrisean, it didn't feel like gossip. It felt like the moment the Guardians of Chaos finally got tired of babysitting the fire starter they protected for years. Their voices didn't shake. Their stories didn't bend. It was the kind of exposure that hits like a cold slap to the soul. Suddenly, the poor me narrative Chrisean paraded online didn't sound like innocence anymore. It sounded like strategy. According to Jason and Natalie, Chrisean wasn't the misunderstood victim she tried to cosplay as. She wasn't the innocent girl caught in the storm. She wasn't the emotionally fragile sweetheart hiding from a cruel world. No, if you believe them, she was the arsonist standing behind every explosion, lighting matches while pretending to run from the fire. And the wild part is people believed him instantly because the internet has watched Chrissy long enough to know her chaos is never random. It always comes with timing, theatrics, and that signature tear-filled performance she pulls out the moment the backlash gets to heavy. But the real punch in that came when Natalie dropped the allegation that Chrisean had been broke, not struggling, not tight on cash, but broke, allegedly resorting to escorting just to keep up her public bada lifestyle. Natalie didn't whisper it. She didn't cushion it. She threw it like she was lobbing a grenade off the balcony. Social media froze, then erupted. Because when someone like Natalie Nunn says you were turning tricks to maintain an image, the world listens. The comments lit up like the 4th of July, screenshots flying everywhere. Vlogs were writing headlines faster than the truth could keep up. And then came the Zeus entertainment angle. The part nobody expected. The place that made Chrissy famous. The platform that fed her narrative. The empire built on her outburst suddenly wanted nothing to do with her. According to the whispers, Lemuel Plummer, the Zeus CEO, had reached his breaking point. She had become too volatile, too unpredictable even for Zeus, a network that practically films chaos like it's a nature documentary. For months, the tension grew behind the scenes. Producers walking on eggshells, executives avoiding her, and eventually the message became clear. They weren't putting her on another show again. Not now. Not ever. And then JasonLee entered the chat with a revelation so wild it made the internet forget how to breathe. He claimed Junior's real father wasn't Blueface at all. It was Ronnie. The same Ronnie who had been speaking out months before his sudden death. The same Ronnie who had been insisting he was the father. The same Ronnie who was preparing to take a legal paternity test. Jason didn't tease the information. He didn't ease into it. He said it like ripping duct tape off a fresh wound, and the digital world imploded. At that moment, everything shifted. People remembered how Ronnie kept going live saying Junior was his son. They remembered how he insisted he had been with Chrisean around the time she got pregnant. They remembered how he begged for a DNA test. And they remembered painfully that she refused to take one while he was alive. Suddenly, Blueface old jokes about the baby not looking like him didn't sound like trolling. They sounded like suspicion, like intuition, like truth. He wasn't ready to declare out loud. And then the darkest curveball hit: the allegation that after Ronnie started talking too much, Chrisean made sure he was gone. Jason didn't accuse her outright, but the implication was as loud as a megaphone pressed to the internet's ear. Comments became crime scenes. Threads turned into investigations. People were screen recording every live Chrisean ever did, like detectives trying to assemble evidence. Suddenly, the timeline felt like a courtroom with no judge, no jury, and no rules. But even that wasn't the end of the unraveling. Because before Zeus allegedly cut her off, before Jason's revelations, before the timeline collapsed, something huge had already happened behind the cameras. While filming new episodes involving her sister, Tessie, Chrissy reportedly had a full-scale meltdown, the kind you can't edit out, can't clean up, can't market as entertainment. Production sources claimed the fight spiraled into something that wasn't just dramatic, it was dangerous. Cameras were rolling. Cast members watched in shock. Producers froze and Chrisean stormed off set, leaving scorched earth behind. And in textbook Chrisean fashion, she didn't call a PR team. She didn't stay quiet. She didn't take time to breathe. No. She ran straight to Instagram Live and spilled everything like she had been waiting for this meltdown moment her whole career. She accuses of being demonic. She accused producers of twisting narratives. She accused the show of forcing fights for views. She accused Natalie of taking hush money to keep quiet about the truth behind the scenes. Her life wasn't a meltdown. It was an explosion, and the internet ate it up. Comments flew in faster than she could blink. Some believers praised her bravery, others mocked her paranoia, and a whole group of viewers sat confused, overwhelmed, and fascinated by how a single woman could hijack the entire digital world in one rant. But here's the irony that made the situation so insane. For years, she benefited from that exact formula. Zeus didn't need to manipulate anything because she walked into every set ready to erupt without assistance. She thrived on chaos. She fed off conflict. She lived for the arguments, the tears, the chair-swinging drama that made viewers tune in every week. But suddenly, when the checks stopped aligning with her expectations, everything was demonic. Everything was twisted. Everything was manipulation. It wasn't spiritual warfare. It was financial irritation dressed as enlightenment. Yet none of this compared to the real danger creeping behind the scenes: the investigation surrounding Ronnie's death. In the same week she casually admitted to having him lined up, she also threatened Blueface's life on a live stream. It didn't feel like empty words. It felt like a confession wrapped in chaos. People re-watched her clip over and over, piecing together timelines, analyzing tone, comparing statements, because the moment Ronnie began demanding a DNA test, he became a liability to her entire narrative, and then he died. Once that happened, everything she said or did became suspicious. Every breakdown, every rant, every accusation, every cryptic post, especially when magically she posted a paternity test claiming Blueface was the father. The test that Steve Wheelo's team exposed as 100% fake, with a mismatched case number and forged formatting. And this is where part 1 ends. Standing on the edge of a cliff, staring directly into the heart of a scandal that was never supposed to see daylight. The moment JasonLee and Natalie Nunn opened their mouths, the internet didn't just explode, it imploded, detonated, and then resurrected itself just to explode again. This wasn't normal drama. This wasn't petty shade. This was the kind of scorched earth chaos that made people cancel their dinner plans, grab headphones, and lock into every new update like they were watching the Super Bowl of scandals. Because as each new allegation dropped, the storyline twisted so wildly that even the Zeus editors couldn't keep up. People were still trying to digest Natalie's escort allegations when JasonLee threw the paternity bomb so violently that the timeline practically combusted. Junior's real father not being Blueface, Ronnie being the actual father, and this secret allegedly being buried to protect an entire image. The memes came faster than Chrisean switches moods. People were tweeting in all caps like they were filing police reports directly to God. You could practically feel the shockwaves through every platform as fans tried to piece together a puzzle that suddenly had 600 new pieces scattered across the floor. New pieces scattered across the floor. And then the Ronnie connection began looping through the internet like a cursed audio track. People remembered how he had been loudly demanding a DNA test, how he insisted Junior was his son, and how he never backed down even when the whole world tried calling him delusional. Suddenly, Ronnie went from random guy with claims to man who might have been right the entire time. Even people who didn't like him had to pause and rethink everything. The public reactions grew more outrageous by the hour. TikTok detectives began stitching old clips, pointing out how Junior resembled Ronnie more than Blueface. Twitter was comparing baby pictures like digital forensic experts. Instagram pages began posting timelines that looked like FBI documents. Everyone became an overnight analyst and the theories got wilder with each passing minute. Some joke that Mai should come out of retirement just to settle this one case. Others said this was Love and Hip Hop meets unsolved mysteries with a sprinkle of Zeus demon energy. Meanwhile, Natalie Nunn acted like she had been waiting her entire life to expose this art. She slid into comments, dropped smarks, doubled down, and let everyone know she wasn't scared of Chrisean. It was like she had a personal vendetta and was savoring every moment. People started comparing her to the Joker, saying she enjoyed the chaos too much. And the irony, Chrisean couldn't even clap back properly because every time she opened Instagram Live, she said something different, contradicted herself, or cried in between insults, making the whole situation even more confusing. Then came the escort allegations, which were messy enough to infect the timeline with a fresh layer of delusion. The internet immediately pulled up old photos, old clips, old rumors, and old assumptions. Suddenly, every mysterious trip, every high-end outfit, every private event, and every unexplained bag she flaunted became evidence. People said the whole thing looked like she was living a double life the entire time. Chaotic mother by day, luxury companion by night. Whether true or not didn't even matter. The internet was already convinced it made sense. Things escalated again when people brought Lemieux Plummer into the mix. Fans said he and Chrisean had been beefing for months. They remembered her calling Zeus demonic. They remembered her accusing producers of setting her up, forcing fights, twisting narratives, and pushing her to violence for ratings. But the twist that ate the internet alive was the rumor that she was fired after a huge meltdown on set involving her sister. This wasn't the kind of meltdown you laugh at. This was the type where production stops, security freezes, and executives start checking their liability insurance. And when she stormed off set and ran to Instagram Live again, people didn't even flinch. It was textbook Chrisean behavior. Shake the room, run to the phone, and broadcast every detail like it's a hostage negotiation. She called Zeus toxic. She claimed trauma. She said everyone was lying on her. But this time, her usual routine didn't hit the same. People weren't entertained. They were exhausted. When fans began sighing instead of cheering, the narrative has shifted. Then came the Diddy connection. This is where everything went from dramatic to straight-up cinematic insanity. Old clips resurfaced of Diddy getting way too close to Chrisean at private events. He kissed her, hugged her, clung to her like she was a VIP guest instead of a random newcomer. The vibe was uncomfortable. The room was uncomfortable. Even viewers felt uncomfortable just watching through their phones. And suddenly, accusations from months ago about Young Miami allegedly grooming her didn't sound as ridiculous as before. Someone dug up the footage of Chrisean describing Diddy grabbing Lemieux Plummer with that eerie giggle, like she didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She told the story casually, as if watching billionaires randomly assault executives with standard nightlife culture. People watched the clip with new eyes, and the comment sections were a battlefield of shock, disgust and conspiracy theories that made the Illuminate I look like amateurs. JasonLee, meanwhile, played puppet master like the drama conductor he has always been. Bringing Chrisean's sister, Tassie, onto his show wasn't an interview. It was a surgical strike. He didn't warm her up with light questions. He went straight for the jugular. Do you think Chrisean had anything to do with Ronnie's death? The internet froze because that question wasn't casual. That was a grenade disguised as a sentence. Jason never asks reckless questions without inside information. Fans said he must have heard something big, something incriminating. Tessie's reaction fueled every conspiracy. She shifted in her seat. She hesitated. She looked afraid to say too much. She didn't deny anything with confidence. She danced around the topic like she was afraid of waking a sleeping monster. And that silence, that hesitation spoke louder than any accusation. The memes turned vicious. People compared this situation to every messy pop culture scandal ever created. Some said this was giving OJ but make it Zeus edition. Others said it felt like Diddy's The Universe Meets Baddies Multiverse Meets My Extended Cut. Some joke that this plotline was so twisted that Tyler Perry would reject it for being too unrealistic. But humor aside, the deeper the internet dug, the darker the narrative became, because once the fake paternity test was exposed, people connected it to everything else. The meltdowns, the lies, the sudden fury, the deletions, the wild accusations, the histrionics, the chaos. Fans said she looked like someone whose entire world was built on a secret she could no longer hide. They said her rage wasn't anger, it was fear. They said she wasn't spiraling randomly, she was unraveling because she knew the truth was slipping out through every crack. Celebrities started chiming in quietly. Shade rooms lit up like Christmas lights. Bloggers went into overdrive. And suddenly, the entire industry stopped treating this like regular gossip and began whispering behind closed doors like something darker was happening beneath the surface. At this point, the story wasn't even about entertainment anymore. It became a question of who was telling the truth, who was lying, and who had been enabling the chaos for their own benefit. Every player looked guilty. Every timeline looked suspicious. Every revelation looked connected. And the craziest part, the internet could feel it. The biggest twist still hadn't dropped yet. The fallout from this scandal didn't unfold gently. It hit like a meteor straight into the middle of the internet, cracking open every lie, every rumor, every whisper people had been too afraid to say out loud. What started as JasonLee and Natalie Nunn tossing out a few industry secrets turned into the digital equivalent of a mass explosion, and every person involved found themselves standing in the ashes, wondering which piece of their reputation was still intact. The internet wasn't just watching, it was dissecting, analyzing, hunting for the final truth like bloodhounds chasing a set no one could scrub away. At the center of the chaos stood Chrisean, not as the misunderstood rebel her fans once defended, but as a woman suddenly drowning in accusations she could no longer outrun. Every meltdown from the past year resurfaced. Every live stream where she screamed at Blueface was replayed. Every clip where she acted and hinged became evidence in the court of public opinion. The narrative had flipped entirely. People stopped seeing her as the victim of toxic love and started seeing her as the architect of her own destruction. Her silence on the paternity issue only made things worse. Instead of calming the storm, she fueled it by pretending the truth didn't exist. Avoiding the DNA test became the biggest confession she never meant to make. And now that the forged test had completely fallen apart, people began questioning not just her honesty, but her mental stability. They said the lies weren't protecting Junior, they were protecting her entire public identity. She created a world where being Blueface's child's mother was her anchor, her storyline, her power. If that vanished, so did her influence. And the internet noticed the desperation in every move she made. Meanwhile, Blueface found himself in the most bizarre position imaginable. For the first time, he wasn't the villain. He wasn't the chaos starter. He wasn't the toxic tornado ripping through timelines. He was the confused father, or maybe not father, stuck between betrayal and disbelief. His entire persona shifted overnight. The jokes stopped. The pettiness paused. The arrogance dimmed. He sounded genuinely broken, genuinely angry, genuinely violated. People could hear it when he spoke about Junior. They could see it when he interacted with fans. For once, he wasn't trolling. He was grieving the possibility that the child he bonded with might have never been his. His supporters rallied behind him in a way the internet had never allowed before. They said he deserved answers. They said he had been manipulated. They said he had every right to demand a real DNA test and walk away if he chose to. It wasn't about drama anymore. It was about truth. It was about dignity. It was about a man who spent months being dragged online while secretly carrying doubts no one knew he had. And then there was Natalie Nunn, the unexpected queen pin of the reveal. Her image transformed almost instantly. People who once mocked her for being messy were now praising her for exposing dysfunction that had been hidden under layers of chaos. They said she was done protecting someone who refused to be saved. They said she unleashed the truth because she was tired of being blamed for storylines Chrisean created herself. The shift was wild. Suddenly Natalie wasn't the villain. She was the whistleblower, the one who finally said what everyone behind the scenes had been whispering for years. JasonLee didn't escape the spotlight either. His reputation as the industry's loudest megaphone only intensified. People said he was the only one bold enough to ask the real questions. Others said he was poking the bear for clout. But regardless of who loved or hated him, His platform became the center of the investigation. Every interview he posted turned into evidence. Every word he said was replayed 1,000 times. He wasn't just reporting a scandal, he was steering it. Zeus Network, meanwhile, looked like the Wizard of Oz with the curtain yanked down. Their reputation took a massive hit as leaked clips revealed how much they relied on toxicity, manipulation, and exploitation. But the irony, the audience already knew. They always knew. They simply didn't care until the show they created turned on itself. Zeus became the messy ringmaster exposed by the very performers they had shaped. And Lemu Plummer's name was suddenly everywhere. Not as the quiet CEO hiding behind the scenes, but as a man running an empire built on breaking unstable women in high-definition thought. As the dust settled, the darkest part of the story began rising to the surface. Ronnie, his death hovered over the scandal like a storm cloud refusing to move. The questions were too loud now, too heavy to ignore. Why did he die right as he was preparing to force a DNA test through the courts? Why did the forged paternity document pop up immediately after? Why did the people who knew him say he was scared before he died? Even people who never liked Ronnie admitted the timing was unsettling, sinister, impossible to ignore. The biggest shift came when fans realized something horrifying. If Junior wasn't Blueface's son, then the entire year of public battles, arrests, live meltdowns, and violent arguments were all built on a lie. Every fight, every headline, every tear, everything Chrisean claimed about motherhood, loyalty, and sacrifice gone. And that possibility turned the internet from fascinated to furious. They said she used a child as a storyline. They said she played with two men's lives. They said she manipulated the world into choosing sides based on a narrative she crafted like a script. It was betrayal on a level even reality TV couldn't exaggerate. And then came the final blow, Junior's future. The saddest, most painful part of the entire scandal. A child caught in the middle of a war he never asked for. Fans said he deserved peace, stability, truth, not a battleground of lies and revenge. Every time a new detail emerged, people felt more protective of him. They said if the adults weren't going to shield him, then the truth needed to come out so someone could. He became the emotional center of the story. The innocent heart in a fire fueled by ego, secrets, and manipulation. But by the time the scandal reached peak intensity, every alliance had shattered. Chrisean looked isolated. Natalie looked vindicated. Jason looked unstoppable. Blueface looked betrayed. Zeus looked corrupt. And Ronnie's ghost hovered over the entire narrative like an unanswered question demanding closure. The internet wasn't asking whether the truth would come out. They were wondering when and who would be destroyed once it did. Because here's the thing about secrets. They never stay buried. They leak. They spread. They grow legs. And when the truth is this explosive, it doesn't just surface. It erupts, dragging every liar into the spotlight they tried so hard to hide from. And now the world is waiting for one thing, the final confirmation. The DNA test that was never done. The test that could rewrite the entire saga. The test that could break the internet for the 5th time this year. The story isn't over. Not by a long shot. In fact, this isn't an ending at all. It's the cliffhanger. The kind that promises something even bigger is coming. And when it hits, everyone will be watching. And if you're sitting there thinking this saga has reached its final chapter, please welcome to reality TV on hard mode. In this universe, every secret has a sequel, every leak has a cousin, and every exposed lie is just the trailer for the real movie. Because with JasonLee, Natalie Nunn, and Chrisean involved, baby, this isn't a storyline. This is a natural disaster with YF. So before the next plot twist helicopters in from the sky, do me one favor. Smash that like button like it owes you bond money. Hit that subscribe button like you're trying to break into the algorithm's house at 3 a.m. And drop a comment telling me which part of this chaos made your jaw hit the floor first. Was it the fake test, Jason's bomb, Natalie's shade, or Chrisean doing Chrisean things? Per usual, your comments keep this circus alive. Your likes feed the fire. Your subscription, that's the seatbelt you'll need for the next crash landing. Because trust me, the internet is not done with these people. Not even close. The way these secrets are spilling out, I wouldn't be shocked if another confession pops up while you're still typing your comment. And if you blink for even 2 seconds, boom, a whole new storyline drops. Junior gets dragged into another rumor. Zeus fires somebody else. Jason leaks another secret. Natalie posts a rant. And Chrisean goes live crying and kissing before breakfast. So stay locked in. Stay messy. Stay ready. Because over here the tea has no off switch. The drama has no curfew and the truth always leaks eventually whether they like it or not. Welcome to Vibe Crave, where the chaos never sleeps and the receipts never die. And the receipts never